mic was unplugged. Let's see, I'm going to tap the mic. Cool. If you're not watching this live, if you're just tuning in at a later moment, you probably want to jump forward like 5 minutes. You can scrub to see where the intro is, and I'll drop it in the description. I am starting early so people can get in, and I'm not going to bother re-rendering the video to cut out these first 5 minutes. So either chill for a second, listen to me talk to people in the chat, or just jump ahead a few minutes. You'll see the intro. Nice little animated intro. I'm going to grab the link from YouTube, post it on Twitter. We'll get this going. Live now. I'm live now. Perfect. I have to actually go to YouTube and manually get the link. It's very professional. Anyone here yet? Yeah! Yeah, what up? What up? What up? If you're in the chat right now, I'm just going to go to Twitter and paste this link. Then we can get this going. I am not professional enough to have it like automatically synced, nor am I smart enough to get the link before I start streaming, so just 1 sec. I'm going to let people know it's going down. I like to get the TV emoji. I like to drop the TV emoji in. It's like subtly telling people, like, yo, it's kind of like a show. You can come watch it. So I'm going to get the TV emoji. I'm dropping it in. How you guys doing? I feel like we've reached the next kind of stage of the quarantine situation. Boom! It's posted. Jonathan Piguet. I gotta learn how to pronounce his last name. Jonathan Piguet started a Symbolism blog. That's dope. I was actually talking to him. I'm not sure if I should say what we were talking about. I'll leave that up to him. But I was talking to him recently. Machinating things. Should I say that? I guess I'll just say that. We were machinating something very low key. But I didn't know he had a Symbolism blog. Got my first stuff for woodcut and start practicing today. That's dope. Do you mean woodcut like, I sound like I'm in a bathroom. That's not good. Let's see why that is. I'm going to move the mic. Let's see. I'm going to tap the mic. Poke, poke. It is the correct mic. I moved it closer to me. Is it better? Does the mic still sound weird? I didn't have the mic plugged in when I started streaming, but I feel like it's definitely picking up the right mic. It's not Pado. Okay. I'll wait for someone to respond on the mic situation. Looks like we're good. Okay, it sounds like I'm in the bathroom. Okay, everyone. I'm not in the bathroom. I'm in my normal room. Sounds much better now. Mic better now. I guess it was just too far. Cool. Let me know if it sounds weird, because we're still a minute early. I could like record myself and see what's up, but I think I was just too far away from it. Cool. You guys know the deal if you're here every week. I'm going to configure it's all right. Got a middle review there. All right, let me know. If you've watched the show before, let me know if it sounds like it normally does. I have like the podcasting mic, like the cool mic you're like supposed to have. The Yeti Blue microphone, as they say. First time hearing my voice. It's always a magical experience, I know. Yeah, I get different responses on definitely something wrong. All right, Joe says definitely something wrong with the mic. What should I do? Well, let's make sure it's plugged in. Is it on the right setting? The volume is all the way up. I think it's on the right setting in the back. I'm gonna turn this setting really quick. The mic sucks. All right, everyone says the mic sucks. All right, okay. I'm gonna unplug the mic and then plug it back in. Oh, fuck, that was the lamp. All right, nice. I'm making a great impression on the people that are here for the first time. Mic's crackling and my voice sounds much deeper. I'm going to unplug and plug back in the mic. This is official Boomer Tech hour right now. Yeah, I'm just going to unplug it and plug it back in. Let's see if that changed anything. Let's find out. I guess one of the settings could have changed on the mic. Someone else says the mic is fine. Now I know how all those people are watching their show and they're not sure what to do feel. I mean, I'm sure what to do. I guess I'll open it in Audacity really quick. We'll have a little detour. Thought we would just start the show like normal, but we'll have a little detour into me seeing what it sounds like in Audacity. Dun-dun-dun, let's record myself and then listen to it. Better. You're good. Way better. All right. It's a lot better now. Sounds good. Seems fine now. All right. If you've been in the show before, you know what the mic sounds like, so... Sound like Owen again. Normal-ish. It's back to normal. All right, Peter M's here all the time. He knows what's up. All right, he said it's normal. We're good then. All right, so hold up. That just delayed me a second. Just let me fix up lamp situation. Boom. Camera situation. We usually start at 7:05. We got like 2 minutes. Yeah, maybe we just plugged into a weird outlet or something. Okay, configure video. Boom. We did it, Reddit. Cool. So how you guys doing? I feel like it's a new era of like Corona pandemica now. I feel like people like are either mad about things opening up or they like don't care as much anymore. I'm gonna focus the camera really quick. So if you have phobia of the doctor, like the eye doctor, look away. I gotta put my gloves on. See, a lesser host would be so nervous about getting ready live, but it doesn't make me nervous. It makes me kind of a real person, I feel like. Boom. I also got something. I finally got something in the mail that I've been waiting for, but it's finally here, and I've talked about missing it on many shows. So we'll use it as the camera focusing device. I should go back and like cut this part out, but I don't mind. Boom! I got that cerulean blue paint. Yes, I have been missing my favorite color blue. I'm going to use it to focus the camera, like I said, so it's probably going to go blurry and not blurry for a second. But it's perfect so I can see the letters and make a call about how focused we should be. Usually it's about like 20 or so. I feel like it doesn't really matter between like 20 and 40, honestly. All right, there we go. That's good. That's good. We can focus more if we need to. I'll leave that little window open. Whiteout? Nah, I have white paint. I don't need a whiteout. Okay. Boom. All right, so it's 7:05. We'll wait like 30 seconds, and I'll just pull the trigger. Finally, the best blue. It actually is, and we're definitely going to use it. All right, let's do this. 7:05. It's time. We're pulling the intro trigger right about now. Boom. And we're back. How's it going, guys? Thank you for sticking through the slightly unprofessional intro. That's how it goes sometimes, though. We're all cool with it, I think. I feel like we reached, if you've been watching since day one, it's like we started at level 0 for the show, and we've definitely ascended full on to level 1. Like now, I know what I'm doing, kind of. I know how it goes. I feel a lot more confident, like, running it. But we're not at level 2 yet. We're getting to level 2 of professionalism, but we're not there yet. That's okay, though. So how you guys doing? I'm amped to do this right now. I had a crazy day running around, doing errands and things like that, out in the world, wearing my mask. People on Twitter were like chastising me for wearing the mask. They were like, "Oh my God, bro, you're that much of a sheep. I thought you were woke. You're worried about the fake pandemic." And I'm like, no, I just look dope. Rolling through Walmart with this red mask that my wife sewed that looks very aesthetic. That's most of the reason why I'm wearing it. Intro music. Oh yeah, I keep forgetting. That's bad. I gotta make a note to remember every time. Intro music. Painted Worlds. You gotta check it out. It's on Spotify. It's on Bandcamp. It's happening all over. It's actually really awesome. I actually love plugging the band because I listen to it in the studio. It's like perfect, like sonic accompaniment to the visual situation. So check it out. It's called Painted Worlds Painting Show. Painted Worlds. That's just a coincidence, but it makes it easy to remember. So let's just jump right in. Yeah, quarantine is boring now. Yeah, I agree. It's boring. So what are we getting at today? Well, what I was thinking was I kind of like the setup I have going on. In terms of like running the show, I like having a little meta element with you guys where I talk about how I'm kind of figuring out how to like run the show as I'm like also doing the show with you guys. I think that's a kind of cool like meta narrative going on. I've rejected the feeling that, initially I was like, I'm working towards some ideal state where I'll figure out how to do it, and then that's how we'll do it every time, and we'll have this perfect format and approach that never needs to change. But now I've kind of rejected that. I've rejected the view of us compressing towards a static point of stasis for the show. So I've kind of accepted it'll just keep changing and evolving. So what I was thinking for this week is I really liked digging into the books last time. That was pretty awesome. And I felt like jumping in with the books that I have on symbolism, plus the painting was kind of a cool vibe. So I think we'll do that today. Who knows how long we'll keep doing that for, but I think it's definitely worth doing it for at least one more week. I also really like giving kind of a setup of where I'm at and like what I've been thinking visually and like topic wise, and then we can kind of just dive in and like go for it. There's been a few things on my mind that I guess we'll hit right now. I guess you could say there's two things really. I've been thinking about, I'm always thinking about symbolism because I'm here in the studio obviously, but I've been thinking about, someone sent me a DM and it was really the perfect kind of example of this topic, where they asked me what I thought about like the symbolism of like moths, and someone else asked me about like big spiders, like what they represent and like what they mean. And it's something people have asked me about a lot in terms of like animal symbolism and symbolism of things from nature. And it's interesting because on the one hand, like when we construct a kind of symbolic framework for thinking through things, there has to be elements that represent like the darker things or evil and things like that. And in a way, it's like very intuitive for people to associate like, oh, night is dark and scary, so night things are bad. Or, probably some of the first like symbolism or symbolic thinking ever was people associating dangerous animals with things that are evil or chaos and things like that. It's pretty universal that snakes mean like bad news or associated with like bad things in different cultures. And even in places like where snakes are associated with deities and gods and stuff like that, that association actually still like on the ground exists. I used to have a job where I worked with a lot of people that were from India, like from all different parts of India, that were visiting America. And can't say too much about where I was, but there was this like big, it's not as weird as it sounds, but there was a big like poster image of this like very graphic snake like at the entrance to this kind of like office building kind of situation. And they would almost always comment on it. Whenever they saw it, they'd be like, why is that here? And have like a really weird reaction to it. And I asked a few of them about it, and they were like, yeah, snakes. Like, they had this like kind of dark association with it. So my point is that kind of, all over people have that deep down association. But where I'm going with this is that I think that there's two different sides to that, where, there's some aspect of that playing into the human consciousness on like a deep level. But I also don't like to let it affect my view of like actual nature and creatures and stuff too much. God made nature, so everything that God made is like good, like to some extent. Or you could say it is good, and then how it relates to us is like another story. So sometimes I like diving in and kind of dealing with those like symbols we have, that we have a conception of them being like darker or evil even. There's a really good story. I've told it on the stream before, so you might have heard this before, but just to go through it quickly. Someone was talking about how the moon is kind of like this dark symbol, or really what they were talking about is the full moon being associated with bad things. In case you don't know, you probably know this to some extent, but there's always been an association of like bad things happening on the full moon, pretty much all over, especially in Western and European cultures, I can say for sure, but I'm sure it's elsewhere too. But I can say for sure in Western culture. And what this monk said was that actually that was like a trick of the devil, and that the devil just comes out and does things when the moon is full, so that humans pervert this aspect of God's creation that's actually good and beautiful, which is the full moon, and then start to associate it with evil. And I really, really like that story. And it's something I think about in my art sometimes, because, sometimes I like to dive in and kind of think of myself as grappling with, like I just said, some of the symbols that, we think of them as being darker or evil, but really it's not really like that, I guess. So it's kind of a rambly idea of where I'm at right now, and what I think we'll deal with a little bit picture style. I'm just going to lay out like a rectangle here, and then we can get going. Also, what I've been thinking about, I guess, that maybe it'll play into it a little bit, but in the studio I always have things playing in the background, whether it's music, or sometimes I'll put on something visual in the background. I'm using kind of a thinner pen to lay out these lines, so I don't want them to be too thick. I don't want the black to like visually affect the picture that we're making. So I'm always watching or listening to something in the studio in the background, and after making it through all the seasons of King of the Hill, probably 2 or 3 dozen times, I had to change it up a little bit. And I was watching these really cheesy evangelical TV shows. Eventually, at a certain point, like, you can imagine if you're me, like I get in the studio and I'm like, cool, I'm gonna have a full day of work, boom. And I don't really want to spend too much time worrying about like what's on in the background, as though that's like super consequential when it's really not. So sometimes I'll just pull the trigger and like throw on like a big playlist on YouTube. And I was watching these really, really cheesy evangelical TV shows, just like in the background, like I'm all answering emails and like doing work and stuff. And I have no like conclusion or like larger thought about it, but it really just made me think of like the American Christian vibe and how it is the way it is and why it is the way it is, and just things like that. There's no real point or anything deeper there really, but I was thinking about that and how it's like kind of has this unique energy to it. You could say that like in every culture that is Christian, it has its own sort of like unique manifestation of Christendom, I guess, if you want to call it that. So I was thinking about that, and the whole evangelical thing is really interesting to me. I was looking into some evangelical theology stuff, and it's just really interesting. Like, I don't really feel too oppositional to any branch of Christianity, really. Like, I have some conclusions and things that I think about, but there's really not a manifestation of Christianity that I can think of right now where I'm like, oh my God, like those people are so stupid, they're idiots. So it's not really like that. It's kind of interesting to me though, because I feel like it has this almost like mystical kind of like ahistoric energy, not in a bad way, but I don't really think of like evangelical American Christianity as like dovetailing with theology in the same direct way that I think of like apostolic Christianity, like Catholicism and Orthodoxy. There it's like pretty obvious. You're like, oh yeah, here's the 1-2 connection, like duh. But I know that there is evangelical theology, but I don't really think of it in the same way as like intersecting directly. So I'm sure there's like someone in the chat who's like going to divinity school in like Texas or something for like evangelical theology that's like cringing right now. Like, oh my God, Owen, you have to read more Karl Barth. And like, I know I'm going to check it out, but just saying. So that's kind of what I was thinking about. And I think we should just jump right in. There's no real reason for me to tell you that other than to warm us up and just let you guys know where I'm at before I jump in. I know. So here's the other thing. So let's get back to the point of the show. Talking about being creative and the creative process. So this is something I talk about a lot, but I just want to get it on the table, like as we get started. So when I start the show now, I usually have like some idea, but the thing is, and I repeat this probably every other show because it's just something I really want to drive home. If you have an idea in your head and then you are like, yeah, that's perfect, that's what I'm going to do, then whatever you end up making is going to be just a bad copy of this thing that already exists virtually in your mind. So it's kind of like I have some idea like in my mind right now, but I don't want to like lock it in and just be trying to get at this thing in my mind. It's much more interesting if I have a more like organic, creative process about it and can kind of just create something new on the fly instead of trying to document something that already exists in my mind. So I'm going to kind of throw a wrench in my own plan just to make sure I don't do that. The symbol that I'm really thinking of is a bat. Right now, I really kind of want to get started with a bat because that's kind of the perfect example of one of those like darker symbols that isn't actually evil. Some things I let go. Like if something is a biblical symbol or has a tone in the Bible, I just kind of like work in that confine because I think of myself obviously as having like a biblical worldview. So something like the snake, things like that, where it's like that's pretty set, like what that represents. I don't really try and like flip it in my art too much. Also because I have to recognize that I'm working within some symbolic framework, and for me that symbolic framework is the biblical worldview. So it's like if I start like flipping things too much, then it just gets like very muddy and it's like everything kind of means everything. So I let certain things go like that. But the bat is kind of a good one because it doesn't really have much symbolism in the Bible. I think the bat is mentioned 3 times in the Bible. 2 of them are telling people not to eat bats. One's in Leviticus, one is in Deuteronomy. Don't eat bats. That's just what it says. But the other one is just a quote about idols, and it talks about like the idols having some kinship with the realm of like the bat and the mole, something like that. I forget, but it's kind of just, it's not really like about the bat. It's more about it living in darkness. So it doesn't really have that strong of like a biblical connotation. So yeah, I want to jump in there, but like I said, I don't want to just be working from this like image in my mind. So I'm going to throw a wrench in my own little plan right now. And I'm going to take something from a sketch I did the other day, and that's how we're going to get started. I also want to see about using, I'm really torn about using some of these smaller brushes on the stream. On the one hand, I think it would be kind of dope, but on the other hand, you're looking at the screen and it might not be big enough, but let's just try it. Let's just see how it goes. When I use the bigger brushes, obviously, naturally, it becomes more like loose and like big, and I always use the weapons analogy. It becomes more like a bazooka than a sniper rifle. But let's get started with some of the small brushes, and if it's whack, then we'll just keep it moving. These are pretty small, actually. So I will plug the tools a little bit. We haven't talked too much about the tools for a second. So this is a size 0 brush. You can actually see on here there's a little 0. So it's pretty small. They actually get way smaller than that. When I was doing like hardcore painting all the time, just hanging out, and whenever I wasn't at my job, I would just be painting in my room. That's pretty much all I use. The biggest brush that I would use was a number 1. And then there's 0, and then it goes down from 0. So you can see how like absurdly tiny these are. Look at this one. This one is a 000, so it's actually 3 zeros. You can almost like not even see it on the stream. It's almost like a sniper rifle. And then over here, 00, and what's this last one? Oh, they're both 00. Yeah, they're basically the same size. So I've done whole paintings, probably actually a little bigger than this, using only the 1s and the 0s down. Where I'm just like painstakingly going over every inch with the brush. Those come out really dope, but obviously I thought that wasn't the vibe for the stream. Like, does anyone really want to watch? I mean, maybe you do want to watch for like 36 hours while I just go through that whole thing, but that's not what we're going to do right now. I'm going to clean off the darkness from this brush. There's some like dark pigment on it. And what we're going to start with is I'm going to kick into 2 roses, and I'm going to make these 2 roses into these 2 eyes. I drew this picture the other day that I really liked a lot. I put it on Patreon, actually. I always feel like I'm like kind of like shilling my Patreon, but actually just normally comes up because I post all that stuff on Monday and then we do the show on Tuesday. So normally there's something like kicking around in my mind from there. So you've heard me mention it before. That's why it's not like an intentional, like carefully crafted plug or anything. Anyway, though. So yeah, I was thinking about all the stuff we talked about, and I drew this picture of this girl with these 2 roses like coming out of her eyes, and I thought it was pretty sick. So that's how we're going to start. right now. And I'm just going to use this really bright cadmium scarlet color. Boom. And yeah, one other thing just before I get started. So yeah, I am still figuring out exactly how to manage like keeping a train of thought and focusing on the picture and actually making it dope and keeping up with the chat. So I'm kind of like figuring that out exactly. So one thing, I mention it every time, but since I can't do super chats yet, also I don't want you to have to like pay to talk to me necessarily. I'm not at that level yet. You have to put at Owen Cyclops like John Schultz Barnes did a few message back. If you put at Owen Cyclops, it shows up on my screen, actually in this exact color. It shows up in this color on my black screen. So it's really easy for me to see. Otherwise, you can imagine I can't like read the whole chat like while I'm doing this without pausing. And then we have dead air. You don't want that on the show. So yeah, if you want me to see something, do that, and then I'll probably see it. But if I don't, you can just send it again or something. You know, keeping it kind of organic. So I'm gonna get started with these roses, and I'm just gonna throw them down. Like I said, I don't really have much of a plan right now, but that's kind of how I like to do it. One other thing is that I sometimes do images where it is just a straight up like symbolic tapestry, I guess you could say. So I'm just going to roughly put in the shape of this rose. I want to see how tiny it is. Yeah, it's really tiny. We're going to definitely go way bigger than that. So let's see. How big would this be? It's pretty good size. We can roll with this size. So sometimes I do images where it is just like a straight up like what I would describe like as a tapestry of symbols, just a bunch of symbols all near each other that kind of like their meanings are like tied together in that way. But I like to throw a little bit of a wrench in that, and sometimes I do that by using some aspects of a figure or a person. Kind of puts like a narrative element into it. Also, it kind of forces me to think like on my toes a little bit more. So that's what I'm going to do right now. And I'm just going to block out. You're probably like, wow, it's a really, really great rose. Really good job there. I'm just going to put in kind of a rough shape, and then I'm going to come back in with a darker color and paint in the petals. So what I'm going to do right here is, I didn't even really plan it out. I try and go kind of quickly when people are watching me, just so it's interesting for them also. And I'm just going to leave these bumps on the outside because I'm going to come back in and kind of put in this rose pattern. We were talking about it, I was talking about it on Twitter, I think with Landshark or something a while ago. Or I think I brought it up. My wife was drinking this rose water and she told me about Bulgarian roses, which I knew about. I've been to Bulgaria. So I'm going to throw down another rose here. We'll make it these two eyes, and they'll be kind of dope at like the bottom of the picture. And I was mentioning that the rose is kind of like a very underrated Western mystical symbol in a way. If you've ever seen any Eastern art, like Buddhist stuff or Hindu stuff, like you probably know the lotus is like basically the preeminent symbol in a lot of Eastern theology aesthetics, theoaesthetics. That's actually a dope term, theoaesthetics. And the rose is kind of like the lotus for us in that way. Actually, I like to say the lotus is the rose for them because obviously I have my biases as to which one I would like to give primacy to. But yeah, it's really easy to deploy as an art motif, but also it has like different layers of like theological significance, like the red rose as like Jesus's passion. It also has kind of like a cosmological diagram feel, just like the lotus, how the petals are like concentric and get bigger coming out. It has significance in our like mystical literature, like Dante saw the universe like in a rose and stuff like that. And actually, while this is drying, actually, like I said, we're keeping it organic. I'm going to bust out this book really quick. So we'll only look up two things in here. We'll look up the rose and we'll look up the bat later. But I have this book. I recommend this book a lot. Sometimes people hit me up and tell me they got it. That's a really good call. It's called The Book of Symbols, published by this group called Taschen. I'm not going to move the camera, but you're not missing much, even though I know it doesn't fit. This is a really, really good first book about symbolism to get. Because it's basically a full-on, you can see how thick it is, symbolic encyclopedia. Sometimes if I plug books about symbolism, I'll mention like, yeah, this is kind of like supplementary material. What I mean by that is, some of it is just purely, in my opinion, supplementary. Like it doesn't really stand on its own. Like maybe you have it around and consult it sometimes. But this is a really good first one to get to just like lay the base of like researching into stuff like this. It's Jungian, so its background is fully Jungian in a way, which means that it draws from all different religions and cultures and things like that. But it's really good. I really, really, really recommend it. And basically everything is in here. I'm going to open up, boom, to Plant World. So we're on Lotus right now. When I find the rose page, I'm not going to read the whole thing because it's really, really long. Oh, I opened up 2 pages away. That's called fate. And I thought about opening this because, boom, I know that this page is in here. So actually you can see this image right here. So it doesn't really, we'll give the artist a little bit of leeway. When is this from? This is from the 1400s. So actually it's pretty dope, actually. And it probably doesn't really look like it. I mean, if you know what it is, you can tell. But this is a rose. It's a white rose down at the bottom. And you can see we got like Virgin Mary in here. I'm going to bring it up a little bit. It's a little bright. There we go. So we got like Virgin Mary in here. We have all the saints in here in the petals. Got the angels above. And actually, it's kind of like discreet. I really like how this is painted. Because you can see it's on this kind of like blue surface. But I'm pretty sure this is like the celestial firmament. It's like the dome covering the earth, or the celestial sphere above us. You can see these stars down here on the bottom. And let's read the caption. It says, the Queen of... Actually, you know what? I'm going to try and get better at doing things on the fly. I'm going to quickly kick on autofocus. And I'm going to bring this up so you guys can see it. Let's see if that works. No, it's really bright. I'm going to quickly kick on auto exposure. Yeah, we'll take it. Cool. That actually worked really well. So here you can see we got Virgin Mary right in there. We got some saints lining it. We got the angels up here. It's pretty dope. All right, I'm going to kick that back off right now. And let's read the caption. It says, the Queen of Heaven presides over tiers of souls, each forming a petal, as angel bees pollinate the celestial rose with the peace and ardor of divine love's eternal dwelling. It's from Dante's Paradiso, Canto 31, from the Divine Comedy. So this guy's illustrated a page of the Divine Comedy. I'm going to kick the exposure back up. Got to kick the focus back up. Was that worth it? I don't know. We're kind of learning as we go here. Got to kick it back in focus. Focus again. Okay, it's really out of focus. Hold on 1 second. I guess I shouldn't have done that, but it's fine. Oh my god, now we have dead air again. Configure video. Close it up. We're almost there. I guess I won't do that again, but maybe it was worth it for that one time. Maybe it was like that before. Kick this down. I feel like it's just not really focused. Yeah, it's just not focusing. There we go. There we go. Nice. Okay, we're never doing that again. Enjoy the one time that I changed the focus live. Anyway, so I thought we'd just poke in here. Let's see what it says about the rose, and then we'll jump back into the painting. Actually, maybe that was enough. Let's look at the other pictures it has, and then we'll jump back in. I don't want to get into reading some academic shit right now. That was enough. It says down over here, though, this is kind of a cool one. Got a little medieval picture. As a single two-colored flower, the alchemical red and white rose is the Western version of the golden flower of Chinese alchemy. Hey, that's exactly what I was just saying. The many-petaled light of the inmost regions. This is from a book called The Secret of the Golden Flower, where the Filius Philosophorum is born. This is an illustration from something called the Ripley Scroll by Sir George Ripley from 1588. Nice. I'm trying to think if we should dig into this text over here, but that was a little bit of a detour. That's good enough for me. Let's keep it going. Bring in the painting back. Cool. I'm trying to see what I can get away with also in terms of like little detours like that, so thank you for sticking with me. Also going to bump the color back up really quick. Cool. I'm getting a new lamp this weekend, so that'll also help the color and light situation. But for now, we're going to keep rolling along. Let's see. Should I put it like this is a little too dark? Let's leave it right here. This is good enough for me right now. Cool. Yeah, it was worth it. That pic is really sick. I know. That's why I thought of it. I was like, yeah, we should pull it up right now. I also forgot that Virgin Mary was like hanging in the rose, so it's pretty awesome. Yeah, we got the alchemy tie-in. All right, the crowd approves. Okay, so let's just jump right back in. So I'm going to let these dry. I'm going to throw in these kind of like eye shapes for the iris. So I want these to be like two eyes, and then we'll probably put like a little nose in. We'll get some like face going on, and then we'll get up here and get some stuff going on up above. I have a decision right now because I've laid down the red. So it's what other color I want to use to lay in everything else. I could use black, but then I'm really like locked into like a very high contrast situation. I'm tempted to use the cerulean blue. It's not really good for the outside of the eye color though. Let's use indigo. Indigo is in between blue and black. It's kind of like close enough. Let's see how this goes. I'm experimenting right now with the super bright light. I think I like it. I think it's tight. I want to make sure it's not like too blown out. Like I said, next time I'll have another lamp. But for now, we're just going to roll with it. I actually have it set up. I have this donut light, and the camera is looking through the donut light at the page. And I can't tell if it's brilliant or really dumb. I think it's brilliant, actually, but we'll see how it goes. It also lets you see the colors a little bit more. Like, see this indigo over here? You can actually see the color that it is. In the past shows, this indigo has looked totally black. So, I don't know. I think that's good. I think it's a good thing. Let's keep it going. So I'm going to throw down. I also have to get used to, I'm telling you guys everything that I'm thinking, just I'm live feeding. I have to get used to holding my hand in a certain way so you guys can see what I'm doing, because if I'm like this, that's not really that cool. So yeah. So anyway, we'll throw down these eyes, and there was just something when I drew it about these like roses like in the eyes that I thought was just really tight. So that's the motif we're going to start with right now. Laying it down. Boom. We'll take this up right here. Boom. Gonna do the same thing here. And yeah, in a weird way, you know, it's almost like the rose is one of those symbols where it feels kind of like almost like cliche, like you're like, oh, a rose, obviously. But it's kind of like also like underplayed. I feel like it's kind of like underutilized in a way. So that's part of why we're using it right now. Let's see, do I want to tilt it to get the glare out? No. I have the exposure up really high. Let's see, I'm going to turn the exposure down one. Yeah, it's kind of dark though. I wish there was like a way to get it between those two settings. Don't you feel like that should exist? Don't you feel that way? But I think it's fine. Let's just roll with it. We'll just roll with it. See how it goes. In a second, we'll get a little crazier with the color, so it'll be better. Okay, I'm going to throw down the petals in here. It's basically dry right now. And what I'm going to do is put it in like this. You can't really see it. Let's see. I'm going to move the light. There we go. I'm going to bring the light down. If this is your first time watching this, normally there's not so much tech, but that's kind of just how it is right now. We're figuring it out together. That looks dope. That is probably the lighting situation we want. Yeah, but I don't want any glare. Yeah. See, I can't really tell. Can't really tell which is better, right? It's almost like it's too dark now. Can you tell? Can't really tell. Let's roll with this for a minute. Let's roll with this for a minute and see how it goes. I can't really decide if I like it more or better, but let's see. Alright, so I'm going to throw down the petals really quick. Let's just kind of get this going. And I'm stoked that I have the cerulean blue now, because that's been a missing piece of my palette for quite some time. Let's see, I want to make sure I hit the outside perfectly so it looks like it was done properly. So it's interesting also because normally I would be able to, like if I'm working digitally, I can put the lines in and then fill it in with the color, but you can see here that when I'm painting, I have to go backwards. I have to put the bottom color down and then paint over it, so it's just something else I have to like think about. That looks sick though. That looks really tight. Okay, I just can't let it go with the light. Can't let it go. I guess that is perfect. Okay, we're locking it in. That is perfect. We're gonna roll with this. Okay, I'm gonna throw down over here, same deal. And there's something about people's faces that I really like using as like the basis for the image. So I'm throwing down these eyes. I think it's partially like I must subconsciously be utilizing the fact that your eye and mind is like programmed to see faces and things, so you're probably a little bit familiar with that, but like on an electric socket or anything like that, you are almost like hardwired to see things as faces. So even if there's just like two dark spots and you know something that could vaguely resemble a mouth, your eye will see it as a face. It's thought that partially that could have to do with like an evolutionary mechanism, like oh, there we go. Sorry. You know, it's an art thing. I'm like obsessive about the lighting, but that actually is perfect. There's no glare. Perfect. All right, we locked it in. Partially like an evolutionary thing, because if you were out in the wild or something and you didn't recognize a face, or you didn't recognize like an animal face, then you could die and get eaten, right? So it's thought that you like overcompensate and see faces everywhere, because, you know, the downside of getting a false positive isn't the same as the downside of getting, like, you know, of missing one. Check this out. I just got this paint. You can see all this stuff coming out. This is just straight up glue. It's just the binder in the paint. Let's see if I shake this up, if it'll help. So in the paint, so in these tubes, you know, I like to just go into like the hardware also, because I think people just think of things in like a simplified way if they haven't really gotten into it before. It's probably the case for every like hobby and craft and everything. But for paint, in here there's water, there's glue, and there's the actual thing that makes it colored. That's like what paint is. So here you can see the glue like came all the way to the top. So that's just like straight binder. It's the binder of the paint, just like straight glue. So let's see, I shook it up a little bit. I mean, it's not that big, that big a deal. I kind of just have to like burn through, like, yeah, now it's coming out like super liquidy. Let's just roll with it though. Let's see how it goes. See if I can use it. If not, I can just kind of like squeeze out like a ton of it and get to like the actual good paint itself, but this is fine for right now. Let's see. I think I'm gonna throw down like the light blue iris. And it's really pale because it's very watery and mostly binder, but I think it'll be good for us right now. Let's just go with it. Cool. You can always go back over it. You can also see that the paints I have, if they're very transparent, they function as watercolor. So it's kind of like I'm throwing down like a little bit of light blue watercolor on these eyes right now. I always like to use blue eyes. I don't really know why. Probably because they have a connotation of like clarity and clearness, maybe. The blue also usually goes with pretty much any color. So throw this down really light. Get it going pretty light over here. Cool. Boom. Yeah, that looks good enough for right now, for sure. Cool. Okay, now we're gonna throw down just some kind of like nose shape. I'll put in some kind of hair, and we'll kind of like flesh that out, and then we'll move on and get to some other symbols and things like that. Boom. Yeah, someone mentioned in the chat that I write God with a lowercase. Yeah, I gotta change that. It's true, actually. Someone actually deactivated their Twitter, not for any like dramatic reason. I think they just like got off Twitter, and they messaged me and they were like, I didn't really, like, no offense to them, I didn't really know them that well. I mean, I just, you know, don't really keep up with many people on Twitter. I mean, I'm friends with some people, but, and he was like, I'm deactivating, but I have one request. Can you start writing God with a capital G? And I was like, yeah, that's legit, man. I actually should do that. So I should do that. It's true. It also, someone mentioned that I write in all lower case letters, but I think that would kind of give it like more of a pronounced effect. If I just wrote only God with capital letter, that'd actually be pretty awesome. Okay, so what I'm going to do right now, I'm actually going to throw down one more rose. So when I do something like this, you've probably seen it a lot in my drawings before, but where the hair meets up here, and then the hair is going to come down and give us like the ears, and then we'll kind of like move on from the face. I'm actually going to throw down another rose, but just to keep things interesting, I don't want it to be red also. I got a few options for colors. Yellow would be kind of tight. Then we get kind of like a primary colors thing going on. Let's do that. That sounds pretty dope. As I'm reaching for the colors, I have two options. So I have my warm yellow, which is cadmium yellow, and my cool yellow, which is lemon yellow. I'm kind of feeling like we should use cadmium yellow, especially if we're going to get into like night colors and darkness and stuff like that later. I think having this warm yellow would be a little bit more of the move. Cool. Yeah, someone said popsicle stick nose. Yeah, I just laid it in like that because I'm not going to make it like a full-on face. I kind of just want the hint of the face to be like what I'm building off of as I build the rest of the image. So it's kind of part of why I put it in like that. It's just meant to be like a graphic representation. Cool. And the different color roses do mean different things. It's funny because what I always want to use is the white rose, because red rose is like Christ's passion, and then the white rose is like purity. But the thing is, if you're working on white paper, then a white rose is kind of just like blank. Almost, it almost just reads as like blankness. So I actually never end up using it. Boom. I also like doing the blue rose. It's not like really a real thing. They like made one via industrial or chemical methods pretty late in the game. So I like using the blue rose sometimes with that like symbolism in mind, but we're not going to do it right now. And I've been thinking more about color schemes too, because as I'm doing things on the fly here, I do want them to have like a cohesive color scheme. Obviously, if I'm working digitally, the color scheme is something I can like tweak and like work with and like make happen slowly over like a long period of time and like really make it perfect. But as I'm painting live here, the color scheme just comes together and is what it is. So I'm glad that I'm starting with the primary colors because it's really safe. Maybe that sounds kind of lame, but it's like a very safe like bed to like lay. I put this kind of low, but I think it'll be okay. I'm just going to go for it and kind of put in this line right here, and I want it to just snake down a little bit. Have it come down a little bit. And I'm going to put the same thing in over here. I'm not going to be too worried about how it looks, honestly, because it's like a hairline, so if it gets a little messy, it's cool. Cool. It's pretty good, actually. And what I'm going to do to kind of just drive home like that's what I'm looking for, kind of like subtle face energy for the bottom part. I'm going to throw it in down here at the bottom. And I'm also, like I said, trying to keep up with the chat, so we'll see how it goes. If I notice something I can really like hop into hard, I will mention it. So someone said noses are impossible for me to draw, and I'm jealous you can draw one. Yeah, so actually here's the thing. In most art styles, actually pretty much any art style, this goes for anything really, especially for women, you want to put as little emphasis on the nose as possible. Like pretty much no matter what style. This woman's face is like super wide, but it's okay. We're going for kind of a graphic thing here anyway. You don't really want to put any attention or detail on the nose at all. In fact, even if I'm doing like a realistic like charcoal drawing of someone, of like a woman or something, I really won't do anything with the nose at all. There's something about it with like the way your mind reads like female faces that I think it kind of like ages them, I guess. Okay, so enough messing around with the cerulean blue. I'm just going to squeeze it and we're going to get some like paint out. Damn, this always happens with this color. It's so weird. It's like something about this color where like it doesn't like mix right. Oh, look at that. It's just like spilling out so much. Winsor Newton, you're killing me. Wow, it's actually crazy because, man, I wish you guys could feel what I'm feeling right now. Because in here, in this tube, I can feel the dried pigment. It's like in here in this tube. I don't want to drip on the painting. In here in this tube is like a dry rectangle of pigment. And I'm squeezing as hard as I can and nothing's happening because the pigment hasn't mixed with the liquid or binder. That sucks. Not a big deal, but it means this tube of paint is basically useless. I gotta figure out what I'm gonna do about that because the same thing happened to my last cerulean blue, and that's why I haven't had this color. But now I got a new one, and the same thing happened, so clearly something is up. It's not necessarily, well, actually it is their fault because they made and sold the paint, but it could be something about the pigment, it could be something about, presumably it's something about the pigment because they use the same binder and all their stuff, but that kind of sucks. I'm going to have to figure out what I'm going to do about that because that's one of my favorite colors. I'm actually probably going to call them and tell them and ask them why and see if I can get a new one. But also, obviously, something's wrong with it. What I'll probably do, sometimes different manufacturers have different qualities of different colors. Their cerulean blue used to be really, really, really good. Look at this freaking, like, Loch Ness Monster lake I have. This is, like, pure liquid that I have going on over here. That sucks. I mean, it's fine. I'm not, like, going to cry about it. But I'll probably have to scope another manufacturer and get their cerulean blue because I need that color. The thing is, it's, like, tragic because I was so amped to debut that color. It's like this nice, like, green blue. You're getting a little bit of hint of the flavor, but it goes on so smooth and, like, opaque. So this is, like, the taste, but you're not getting the real energy of it. We're going to have to wait until I order another one. Not a big deal. What's the symbolism of a yellow rose? Normally yellow flowers like that represent like friendship or something like that. That's pretty common. All right, man, I got to retire this cerulean blue. I'm going to turn this. I'm actually just going to turn the whole palette around right now. I'm going to let the cerulean blue lake go. I'm going to sacrifice that over there, and we're just going to start fresh again over here. That's okay. That's how it goes. Okay. The indigo, cadmium scarlet. Cool. Have you tried shaking vigorously? Yeah, actually, I can't tell if you're joking or not, but yeah, I actually did shake it a lot before I did it. The pigment in there is like totally dry. Can I stick something in it and break it up manually? Yeah, I'll figure it out. But I mean, the thing is that, yeah, no matter what I do, it won't be like nice, like well mixed like paint. I could like salvage it somehow. If you were watching one of the episodes before, I actually took the cerulean blue and cut into it with a pair of scissors and like tore it open, and inside it was just like dust. It was like totally dry in there. There is stuff I could do with it. If I was like still stretching canvas and like prepping canvas, I could take that dried pigment and like mix it up into like the gesso when I'm priming a canvas and make it like nice and blue, but I don't really do that anymore. I probably should, but I don't, so yeah, I'll figure out something with it. Okay, I'm gonna lay out the petals for this yellow rose, and then we're gonna get, let's get a little looser, let's get a little more cut to the chase energy going right over here. Boom. And yeah, there's something about incorporating like a human face as like the basis of the picture that I think, I don't know, there's something about it like with my style that I really just gravitated towards that really hard. Okay. And this yellow isn't totally dry, but I want to get moving. Normally the first half of the show is like setting the stage, and then I feel like the second half is when we like actually get it going. Alright, I'm going to throw this down. Boom. 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 Okay, so we got the controlled energy that we needed. I feel like we got to chaos it up a little bit, so I'm going to switch to a bigger brush right now. I like this guy. Been using this guy a little bit. It's kind of like a medium hit between the too dark and the too light. And I'm going to throw down this girl's hair right now. So now I am starting to, in my mind, like just let you guys know what I'm thinking, like developing the color scheme a little bit. And there's two directions that I could go in right now. I talked about it a while before, but I really like hitting like the season and where we are in the season and drawing my inspiration for the color scheme from that. I feel like right now it's like spring switching into summer energy. Also, whenever I do the show, it's like twilight, getting to night, and I feel like that also has like a color quality that I want to tap into. So I have different avenues opening up before me. I can basically go anywhere from the primary colors. I can really expand in like any direction. What I would normally do, I guess you could say normally, or what my first instinct was, is to use this Venetian red. If you've never seen the show before, this is like a Pompeii red. It's like clay, like that. That's actually the perfect way to describe it. It's like that red, earthy clay color, but I feel like that's gonna mess up my like cool, crisp, summery, early summer night energy that I'm trying to get going on. So I'm actually not gonna use that color. I'm a little torn right now. I am thinking about purple. Purple's like kind of a dangerous color because it can be so intense. You know, let's actually explore. Let's explore and see what we think about this color. So I'm gonna throw out this purple right now. So it's interesting. So I like name dropping the colors so people know what I'm talking about, and eventually, you know, you pick up the lingo and stuff like that. So this is a distinction that I talk about every now and then. Cadmium yellow, that is yellow. The reason they called it this is because that's the actual pigment. If you went to like a pigment shop like in the 1800s and you were like, hey, do you have cadmium yellow? They would either have it or know what you're talking about. It's like the actual pigment in here has a name. It's called cadmium yellow, right? Same thing with cobalt blue. There's a pigment called cobalt blue, right? This is just called spectrum violet. There's no pigment called spectrum violet. When you find these random names like that, what that means is that someone in the paint manufacturing factory was like, hey, we need a purple color, and they mixed it up and they were like, this is perfect, let's use this as our purple color. So it gets a little bit it's a little bit of a different ballpark playing with those colors, because for the pigments I know how they're going to handle. I could go into any medium. I could go oil paint, acrylic paint, watercolor, and hit a cadmium yellow and feel very confident about how it's going to handle. By how it handles, I don't just mean like the color quality. I mean like how opaque is it going to be? How's it going to mix with other colors? Is it warm? Is it cool? How's it going to act when it mixes with white? When it mixes with black or darker colors? I know all that. It's like it's like a weapon that have like very tried and true. When I get to these colors, I'm always kind of like, what's your deal? Like, what's your vibe, buddy? But let's see. Let's feel it out right now. It's also called Spectrum Violet because I've actually never used this color. The only reason I have this is because I got these paints at a time where the factory was like not making them for some reason. So as we mix this up, I'm going to bring the light way over so we can blast the light on it and maybe like hopefully see the quality of it a little bit more. So right now it's really dark. This is actually how dark it looks like in real life. This is not like an optical illusion for the camera. It looks like black actually. I'm sure if someone came into my room right now, they would think I was working with black. So to feel out the character of the color, I have to mix it with white. I have to see kind of like what its deal is by mixing it with white over here. So I'm going to grab some water. In the beginning I said you shouldn't mix with brushes, but that's still true. You shouldn't do that, but I'm also just going to do it right now. And you can actually start to see a little bit of the quality when I got the water in there because the light is bouncing through the paint, hitting the white bottom, and then coming back up. But I think when we get the white in here, let's see. So we got this kind of like icy purple going on right over here. This is easily one of my favorite colors, icy purple. I don't know what you should call it. It's not like really lavender, it's like more desaturated. Let's see if we get a more accurate readout on the color if the camera is further over. Sorry this is like messing with the camera edition, but like I said, we're all learning together. And by we, I mean mostly just me. And I'm gonna see, let's see if we get a little darker. Yeah, interesting. See, like I have this reaction to this color and I'm like, that's exactly how I feel when I see this. I'm like, ooh, it's dangerous. I'm also, if I use a color like this, isn't this visually pleasing to just see this like pouring out of the brush right here? If I use a color like this, I'm also stepping like firmly out of the, I guess you could say like kind of medieval classical pigment realm, and it's a little dangerous for me because then it's kind of like I don't really know what's going to happen. But, we're here to be bold, make moves. This is looking pretty fresh. I say we just go for it. Let's do it. We're going to do it right now. How dark do I want it to be? I feel like if I'm going to bother using this, I kind of want it to be really dark. The thing about the colors also is that they have like natural, man, I hate that, sorry, the camera wire, I'm just going to fix this right now, is over the light wire. So whenever I move the light, it moves the camera, but that's not going to happen anymore. I fixed it. Cool. And I just want to get rid of that like glare. I just want it to not be so shiny. Should I bring it down? No, that made it worse. Should I bring it higher? Next show I'll have a new lamp, so we won't have this issue. There we go. Let's see how that is. That's pretty good. And what if I turn the exposure up one more notch? Maybe 5, 4? Yeah, I think that's the way to go. Like I said, next show I'll have a new lamp. Normally I have 2 lamps. If you've been watching the show, normally I have 2 lamps, but I'm not going to lie, my wife broke one. I just didn't want to shout her out, but since we're having these problems, that's actually why. Just a low-key putting that in there. So next week I'll have a new lamp, but for now I think we're good. Oh, it's too dark though now. Look, you can see the like, what's it called? Like the blurry, cool. All right, we're going to put it back. And I'm going to turn the exposure back down. This is the last camera tweaky thing. Now we can like really get into it, sorry. Last camera tweaking moment. And we'll just roll with it like that. The thing is the paint's dry and you can like see the glare. That's the only reason why I'm like obsessively tweaking this, because it's so glary. I just want it to not be glary. Let's see. The second I get it not glary, I'll just accept it and like move on, but I feel like it's worth it for me to just figure it out. Look, it's like glary no matter where, no matter what I do. That's pretty good. Let's just roll with this. I want to keep it moving. Yeah! All right, I'm accepting that. We're going to roll with that. It's light enough on the page. All right, let's just keep it moving. Cool. Yeah, watch me play with my light for 2 hours. Yo, for real, my bad. Okay, I'm going to throw this down. Let's get this going. Cool. So I'm going to throw in this like dark purple up here, and I kind of want it to spill up into the indigo color that I have going on. So like I was just saying, the colors also have their kind of like natural states of being like really saturated. Like blue, purple, those colors down at the bottom, they are more saturated. They're more intense when they're dark. And then as you make them lighter, they get like paler. And then on the other end of the spectrum, you have the yellows and stuff like that, where they're more saturated when they're lighter. And then as they get darker, they lose that saturation. I'm going to grab the indigo, and I'm going to kick this up here. Boom. I'm going to have this spill up, because I want to get the night thing going on, and I feel like if I have it coming up into the indigo, then it's going to be pretty dope. Perfect. Kind of want these to like bleed together. Perfect. So we got this purple blue kind of dark thing going on. If I'm really pushing like the summer night thing, I haven't seen them yet, but I could throw in some like fireflies here. That would be pretty dope. So I'm gonna get this darkness going up here. Yeah, this looks pretty sick right now actually. Cool. Make this a little bit darker over here. And I'm kind of just going to leave that. Yeah, I do have the gold paint. Maybe I will get that going in here. Okay, so now I kind of want to decide what's going on up here. I kind of want to get a bat going on because of what we were talking about before. I could have it illuminated against like a moon or something like that. That would be pretty sick. I mean, now that I said that, obviously I'm gonna do that. I'm going to throw down the bat first. I want to try and not have it be kind of like more cliche bat imagery. Can I phrase it that way? So I don't want to make it too dark. I feel like the black bat just kind of reads as like the standard kind of bat situation. So I want to see if I can make it brown. But I don't know. Venetian red might be hot. Maybe I should make it brown. This is like this kind of like woody brown. This might be a good color to use. I think it will be. Let's go with this raw sienna. That's what this color is. So let's see. I'm going to throw this down. And when I put in animals, I'm not going to put in like a face or anything on this because I want it to read as like the symbol of the bat. I don't want it to be like an actual like bat character, if that makes sense. I want it to be like a symbolic image of it. I'm gonna make it, let's see. So I'm thinking right now I have two options. So I can either, I'm just gonna grab a piece of paper, show you guys what I'm thinking right now. So I can either have it be, boom, like this. So let's say we have the bat face. I'm not going to put it in just like that, but I can have it be set up so the wings are coming off this way. Obviously I won't paint them in like that, but I can have them coming back like this. Then I kind of got to like address the legs and stuff. It's kind of unideal. Or I can go like full symbolic style and have him facing forward and then have the wings coming like that. I actually think since it's less typical, I'm going to go with this one now that I've seen them both there. I kind of want to just like get out of the more like typical renderings of a bat, if that makes sense. So let's see. Boom. Yeah, someone said caramel color. This is kind of like caramel color. We'll also probably throw in some white highlights. So I'm going to try and give him kind of like a rat head on the top. Cool. Coming down a little bit like this. Boom. Cool, so we'll throw in the head. I've mentioned it before, but I'm kind of toying with this like very medieval way of painting animals where it's like I don't want it to look like a scientific like illustration. I actually like in the medieval images where it kind of looks like someone maybe had never seen that animal before, and they're just like conceptualizing like how they reason it must look. If you look at a lot of medieval paintings of animals, that's how it is. Or it's someone who never saw an animal like that before. Like if you're medieval, unless your friend like killed a bat, like when are you really going to be looking at bats? You know what I mean? You've probably seen them like darting around at night, but you may have never got to like study one like hardcore, like up close and personal. So I'm going to throw this down like this. Boom. That actually looks dope. I don't know exactly how I want to address the legs. Honestly, ideally, I wouldn't, but I don't know if it's going to look like an omission if I leave it out. So let's see how it goes. And I'm just going to throw down... Actually, I'm going to grab a little white. Here we go. Perfect. I'm going to grab some white. We got it going over here. Boom. Cool. And let's just throw it down like I was saying. 1, 2. And then unlike angel wings that have the poofs coming out, like 1, 2, 3, this kind of wing has the poofs coming in. That's the technical term. So it comes in like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Boom. That looks tight. We'll come down this way. Boom. Perfect. And we'll see how this color dries. It's actually nice. It's a very nice, like woody kind of brown color. Perfect. And in the avatar I made for Twitter, I put an eye on the bat wings. I think I'm probably going to do that here too. Wings are one of my favorite symbols. To me, I really liked, I heard someone phrase it, that wings are symbolic of being on a divine mission. I really like that phrasing, that it represents like, you know, sort of like having like a divine aspect and like commands to like whatever you're doing. So I can try and harness that a little bit here. And then throwing the eye on it to me just makes it like even more like that. I'm going to lighten up the wing in the back. Let's see. Throw that down a little bit over here. Boom. Yes. Boom. And we'll just kind of get one of those little poofs in. Yeah. Perfect. We'll come in with this lightness. There are bats around where I live, but I never see them. Cool. Perfect. Dope. And let's see. I want to see what kind of like ecstatic energy I can like get in here. I don't want it to be too like comfy and like normal. I'm gonna change my gloves. If people want to ask me anything, you can ask me some stuff right now. Cool. Sorry I was tweaking with the technology so much. That will never happen again. But for now, what are we still first like 11 or 12 episodes? But eventually I'll have it super professional and like down pat. Okay, I'm throwing on a different glove. Cool. Super jazzed on this non-gothy bat. Perfect. We have the crowd's approval. The lighting is good. It only took us like 45 minutes to get to this point. But it's cool. All right. So I got to put the legs in, obviously. All right. I had to change my glove because my wrist got in some paint. I'm going to throw down the legs. And I'm just going to I'm going to have them coming out like this. Yeah, perfect. Then coming back a little bit. I don't want to draw like too much attention to them. I don't want them to be like too scripted, too like, not scripted, but too like overwrought. So I kind of just want them to like be there and like maybe you wouldn't normally notice them. I'll just put these kind of little like paws on them. I feel like if I put too much like detail on the paws, it's going to look like, it's going to like draw your eye to them. But I kind of just want it to be like an accident like of the painting that they're there. Cool. I'm going to throw down some type of halo. So one thing I really like doing is using a halo that isn't light colored. Light as in like isn't the color of light. And since we're trying to push it a little bit, I'm just going to throw down this. Oh my god, look at this fucking glue. Perfect. I'm going to throw down a green halo here. It's like Friday the 13th. It's like full moon. I got the paint drying up. I got the paint spilling glue, but we're going for it. We're just going to keep trucking along. Nothing can stop the painting show. I guess since we've crossed like halfway, if you guys want to ask me questions, you can. I'll keep a little bit more of an eye on the chat. What do you think about the... Whenever I say that and look up at the chat, I'm always hit like out of nowhere with like a question I never would have expected. Not that it's a bad thing. What do I think of the Pachamama? Is it Pachamama or Pachamama? It's like Pachamama, right? No, I think it's Pachamama. What do I think about that controversy? It's interesting, man. All right, so this green was one of those colors I talked about where it's like a factory color, like not like an actual pigment. It actually has the quality I was going for. There's something about the combo of green and purple that has this kind of like weird energy to it. Different color combinations have like different, it's a perfect word for it, just different energies about them. And the green and purple one is so weird. I thought it would kind of fit here, especially with this green. But it's a little bit more transparent than I thought. So that's why I'm kind of like very carefully just going over it and making sure it's thick enough. What do I think about that? It's really interesting, man. Well, it's interesting because I don't know. I mean, with stuff like that, I feel like everyone has like a different view on it based on their own. So what I'm going to do while I'm talking right now, I'm going to throw down a cool yellow outside the green, and the green's still wet, so if it bleeds into each other, it might actually look kind of dope. Perfect, here we go. And I'm just going to mention it one more time. If you watch the show a lot, I'll figure out the lighting beforehand next time. It looks perfect right now, but now that I'm stepping up to the next level of professional, I should have figured that out beforehand. All right. Not going to talk about that again. Anyway, yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I don't know, man. Like, I guess you can hear in my voice my like kind of like not trepidation, but like, you know, it's interesting because, you know, you have people who like always want to dunk on the Catholic Church, who will always take anything and be like, oh my God, look, like obviously this confirms like all my theories and stuff. And then you have other people that by virtue of their position kind of would never criticize. I mean, I mean, maybe I'm biased. There's not that many of those people, honestly. I think most people like are willing to like say that that's kind of weird. So yeah, I don't know how much like macro conclusion I could draw about it, but it is obviously kind of weird and interesting. For me, it's just like all that stuff is always roped into like the larger picture, I guess you could say, and I don't know. I guess what I could say about that is that I feel like the most dangerous people in like any situation, whether it's Catholicism or, you know, any religion, any kind of like belief system, anything like that, are people who, I'm also going to throw down a warm yellow on the outside. I like the look of like the gradiated halo. Are people who are kind of there because they have like an agenda, I guess you could say, instead of actually believing in it. Like, I guess what I'm saying, I'm kind of like rambling, but I guess what I'm saying is I feel like the most subversive people are people who say they kind of believe something and don't. And I'm not talking about anyone in particular, but I feel like that controversy was so interesting because you have all these people being like, yo, this is kind of like an idol, right? Like, what the heck? Like, why are we putting this in a church? And like, why are we like elevating this? And then even if there is a case to be made, like I know some people were like, oh, it's not really an idol. It's like the Amazonian Virgin Mary. You have all these people who are like, yeah, well, whatever. It's part of their culture. Like, who cares? And it's like, yo, at least like pretend to like believe in like the rules that you're like pumping, obviously. But I think those people were kind of like few and far between. I didn't really go too hard into it besides noticing it and thinking it was really interesting and weird. I did talk to a priest about it. No, that's very misleading. I didn't like hit this guy up like, oh my God, like tell me about Pachamama. But there's this priest that I talk to sometimes. It's more like it's that way. Like we talk online sometimes. And I mentioned it to him and he was talking to me about it. And it's kind of the angle he gave me. What I just said was like, there's some like, you know, sketchy, weird aspect to it. There's also people who want to, you know, it was tied into like, you know, at that time, people were also saying like, oh my God, like they're going to push for like unmarried like priests in the Amazon and all that stuff. And I feel like that was a big like talking point on Twitter. People were like, oh my god, like now they're gonna start pushing for, unmarried priest in the Amazon, but I don't know. I mean, basically I thought it was weird. I can't really say much more than that. I find the jungle Amazon religion thing to be very interesting. It's a really powerful force. I don't really think the like jungle religion energy is something that anyone could ever underestimate. And I know there are some people that are like, oh, it's just an Amazonian Virgin Mary, but like, I don't know, man. I really would not mess with that stuff. I mean, it's really real deal, like freaky deaky, hoodoo-y ancient religion energy that I feel like is not really to be trifled with. Like I used to hang around with a lot of people who are really into that stuff, and just like Christianity has a unique energy to it. I guess you could say every religion and theological system has a unique energy to it, but like the Amazonian stuff has a unique energy to it. But in my opinion, it's not in like a way that I'm trying to like hang around there. In fact, it's kind of the opposite. I heard this story once that if you guys know who Chogyam Trungpa is, Chogyam Trungpa is a Tibetan Buddhist guy. I'm just going to outline the bat while I'm talking here. Chogyam Trungpa is a Tibetan Buddhist guy who started Shambhala. It's a really, really popular Tibetan Buddhist organization now that kind of has its own, like, it's like its own manifestation of, like, Tibetan Buddhism for Americans, but, like, not in the completely, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, divorced from tradition way that makes it sound. I mean, I'm not about Tibetan Buddhism, but it's basically just like a Tibetan guy who brought Tibetan Buddhism to America and kind of made a form of it for Americans, I guess you could say. Point is that there's a story about him where he's in like San Francisco, and he's in some like person's house, and they're like visiting someone, and they're hanging around, and he pulls back this curtain, and there's a shrine in this person's room, and it's like an Aleister Crowley like Thelema shrine, and he sees this like Aleister Crowley shrine in this guy's house, and he turns to his like whoever he's with, and he's like, yo, let's get out of here, like we need to leave right now. And he was like really sketched out by it and just like left. And that's kind of how I feel about the Amazonian religion stuff, man. Like I'm like creeped out by it, honestly, just because I know it has this like powerful connection into if I'm going to Jordan Peterson out, like the chaotic realms of like from which it came, I think it really actually does have like a metaphysical like power to it that is unique. And I'm not really about that. So it's kind of my rambling answer for what I think about the Pachamama stuff. I think that I'm not qualified to like weigh in on what the Catholic Church should or shouldn't do, but I think that if you're going to the Amazon and you're bringing Christianity there, I think you have to recognize that you're trifling with some like ancient, frankly like weird energy, and you're probably going to have to like be very aware of like the influence that exerts and stuff. So that's my rambling answer for what I think about the Pachamama thing. It makes me think of like when I used to do ayahuasca, honestly. It's kind of what I'm sugarcoating there, I guess. I missed a lot of questions before because that was a really, really long answer, but I felt like I should just go into it. So if I missed your question, you can ask me you ask me again. What is something that you want to talk about but never get a chance? That's interesting. I'm going to throw down these kind of like lines on the bat wings right here. Could have done them in a different color, but I want to keep us moving. Something I want to talk about but I never get the chance to talk about. It's really interesting, man. Might have to come back to that one. Honestly, nothing comes to mind because I can talk about whatever I want. I'll let you know if I think of anything. I'll go off on a random topic to make up for the techno fiddling before. A bat needs ears? Yeah, that's true. That's true. Perfect segue though. Yeah, what do I think about voodoo? Exactly what I was just saying. There's a really weird, dark energy there that I would not mess with, personally. Kind of like what else is in that folder? Amazon religion stuff. Voodoo's in there. Santa Muerte's in that folder too. Shit that I feel like is just like it has like that powerful energy. I mean, I'm like repeating myself now, but that I really would not mess with. Okay, so I got a few options here. I feel like I should get some black. So I'm going to throw in a little bit of black, and then we'll see if we want to get like, I think 2 vertical fireflies would look sick over here if we decide to go that route. So I'm going to throw down some black. I'm going to try and get this popping. I feel like if it's summer energy also, I might paint in some leaves and stuff like that. So let's see how it's going. But yeah, the voodoo stuff, I would never mess with that, honestly. I guess, maybe that's obvious, but like, let me put it this way: like, if I moved in somewhere, let's say I rented an apartment, and I moved in, and there was like a Buddha sculpture in the bedroom. I'm not about Buddhism. I would just get rid of it. I wouldn't really feel weird about it. But like, if I moved in somewhere and there was like a voodoo thing like pinned to the wall or something, I'd probably get the place exorcised, right? I mean, I just feel like there's something about it that I can't really articulate that obviously has some tie-in to like some darker energy. Maybe that's obvious. I don't really know if people are like turned on to that, but yeah, definitely. What do I think of Swedenborgian Christianity? I haven't really looked into it that much, honestly. I can't really comment on that. I would have to like refresh myself to like go off on that right now. I was looking into. Hey, this is kind of a tie into that, and someone asked me what do I not talk about. So, not that it's related to Swedenborgian Christianity, but you're reminding me of it. What's something I've never talked about actually is Rudolf Steiner, man. That just reminded me of Swedenborgian Christianity. I know they're not like. I don't think they're not overtly related, obviously, right? But that's something I've never talked about that I think is really interesting, and it's something I've poked into a lot, but I have never really brought it up before because it's almost like I don't know. I guess you could say it's almost like in the uncanny valley for me in a way. If anyone doesn't know what the uncanny valley is, I'm not going to explain it. It's like when something's too similar to you. That it kind of it's like if something's too similar to you but not totally similar, that it then becomes like kind of creepy. That's basically what the uncanny valley is. So I feel like it's kind of like in the uncanny valley for me, where I'm like, oh, there's this guy who's really into like esoteric Christianity and the mystical aspects of Christianity and stuff like that. But then when I actually poke into it, it's just this really weird, almost like channeled like occult energy and stuff like that, I guess. In case anyone doesn't know who Rudolf Steiner is, he's actually pretty cool. I mean, despite what I'm saying, he's pretty cool. He's this guy. I think he's Austrian. He was raised Catholic, and he was clairvoyant when he was younger. I mean, he was clairvoyant his whole life, but that was like a big aspect of who he was. And it's actually interesting because, normally if people are like into like traditional theology, they'll just like poke into him and be like, oh, this guy is bad because, he talks about like reincarnation and all this weird stuff. And, maybe that's valid, but I don't think they look too far into it. I'm not like a defender. I'm pretty neutral, actually. I'm kind of like totally neutral on the guy. He's clairvoyant. And he said when he was younger, he was like an altar boy. Or, whatever you call it if you're hanging out up by where they do the mass. I guess that makes you an altar boy. And he said that he could see physically, see the change in the Eucharist when they did the Mass. He could like literally see it. But that he got kind of turned off by like the priests and how they didn't really have like, the same kind of like mystical vibe that he had, I guess you could say. So he kind of went off and did his own thing and left behind a whole legacy of, writing about everything from like architecture to gardening to theology, not really theology actually, everything except that. I'm getting to that. Gardening, religion, farming, the nature, art, painting, music, like everything. Like he kind of was like a polymath, kind of like a tripped out like early 1900s like Christian Da Vinci. But he was also really, really into theosophy and the occult and stuff. And I don't know, it's kind of interesting. I feel like if there's this wall, well, let's say like this is the wall, and like on this side is Christianity, and on this side is like, let's say esoterica, not like the occult, not like bad necessarily, but just like esoterica trippiness. I feel like if this is the wall, I'm like over here on this side of the wall, where I'm like on Christian turf, and I like this side of the wall too. I mean, but I'm over here. I feel like he's like over here on this side, where he is like, yeah, no, I'm Christian, like I'm down, but like actually he's like fully planted in like the tripped out esoterica weird side. And it was interesting because I thought about him recently. I'm just going to kind of paint in some details while I'm talking because I like this topic actually, and then I'll kind of dig into like what we're going to do next. So I checked him out recently, and it was kind of interesting because I was like, I've looked a lot more into theology over the last like few years, beyond that even, and I'm going to paint in some blue behind the bat. That's what I'll do while I'm talking right now because I don't want it to be like white there, but I'm not really sure exactly how I want to handle it. And I looked into it, and I was like, yeah, I wonder, now that I know more about theology, like, what's Rudolf Steiner, how does he dovetail with, like, Christian theology? And how does he, like, square away all this stuff that he's into with Christian theology? And honestly, after looking into it, I kind of just feel like he doesn't. It was really interesting because I looked into all these books and lectures and stuff from him, and it's all this like channeled stuff about like reincarnation and like tripped out like mystical interpretations of the Bible and stuff. And I don't know, I don't really have a point with all this, but that's something that I've never talked about is Rudolf Steiner. And I don't know, I really wonder what other people in like the Christian sphere think about him, or if they even like know about him. But I tried to see how it intersects with theology. And if you don't know who Rudolf Steiner is, you're probably like, dude, why the hell are you like rambling on about this? But it actually is a really big part of like Western, I don't know what to call it, weirdo mystical history. And yeah, I kind of just feel like it doesn't really intersect with theology, and it's something I felt really locked out of over the last like few years, because like I said, I'm like, oh, there's this guy who almost like has his own tradition of like esoteric Christianity. I'm like, dude, that sounds hot. Like, I'm definitely down, but it just kind of like doesn't really. I don't know. I don't want to say like I'm not down, because I think he's kind of cool actually. But yeah, I'm gonna stop rambling about that. If you have thoughts about Rudolf Steiner, actually put it in the chat, because I'm really curious. I've actually never talked about that on Twitter or anything, but I'm kind of curious like what other people think. The other thing that's really cool, in case you guys don't know, in case you have kids, is he started this thing called Waldorf School. And it's actually pretty awesome, because it's like this tripped out talking to angels, like really like third eye, like Christian dude started this tradition of schooling called Waldorf School. And I feel like it's like crazy that they still like let it exist, honestly. It's very like anti-tech, and it's kind of like low-key Christian, where like they wouldn't talk about like Jesus, but they have like a festival where kids dress up as like Saint Michael the Archangel and like pretend to like kill a dragon and shit. So it's pretty cool. If I was going to send my kids to a normal school, I would definitely send them to a Waldorf school. But like I said, if you have any thoughts about Rudolf Steiner, actually drop them in the chat, and I'll definitely read them, because I have no one else to talk to about that. And I'm very, very, very curious, I guess you could say. What are some things you find disqualify as a potential symbol from working in art, like dinosaurs from last week? It's more that I am building up sort of my own. Hold on a second. Okay, like we gotta poke into this real quick. Okay, so this is actually looking pretty dope for something I was like talking while doing, but I want to try and square in and like make some cool shit happen. Here's what I'm thinking right now. Here's what's on my mind. I would paint in these like black fireflies here with the light, but it's so dark that I kind of would have to outline them in like a bright color, which I don't really necessarily want to do. So I feel like I should put something here, like in this dark space over here. Could put in two moons, could do the moon thing right now, but I don't know. I kind of use the moon a lot. Oh, leaves. We were talking about leaves. I'm going to try and paint in some like dark leaves over here. And let's see how I want to play that. I got this. Well, I have this Viridian green, but it's going to be too transparent. It's not going to be opaque enough to deploy like that. So maybe I'll mix it with some white. Let's see how that goes right over here. So I'm going to see what happens when I mix the white in with the green. It's going to be like a super cool green, almost like a cool like minty green. But I think if I get enough of the Viridian in, and also if I use some of this green here, it'll like kind of balance it out. I just kind of want like a neutral, like dark, not really dark, just like middle value green. Yeah, I think this is perfect. Cool. Perfect. What do I think of Shintoism? It's an ancient religion, but I get a different vibe from it than voodoo and all this stuff. Yeah, it doesn't have that same like kind of like frankly like creepy evil energy. If I'm not like being PC, it doesn't have the same like evil creepy energy. I think it's maybe because it's like full on like animism. I don't think I would describe the other things I was talking about as animism. They have like that element. Let's see, I'm just gonna throw in. I'm just gonna start going for it. We're like 90 minutes in. I don't want it to be over 2 hours, so I'm just gonna go for it and see what happens. Throw this in here. It's not very dark. I kind of want it to be like darker. So yeah, I think the Shintoism has a different feel because it's not as animistic. I mean, sorry, because it is animistic, so it has this vibe of like, well, like divinity is kind of infused with everything, and like if you use a teacup for over 100 years, it gets like a spirit attached to it, and it doesn't have the same energy of like, yeah, we're channeling some like dark gods right now and like asking them to do stuff for us. So that's probably why it has a little bit of a different flavor. I'm gonna throw this down over here. Cool. And I'm really just gonna honestly, sometimes I'm shooting for like a theme, but I kind of just want to go for that like cool summer night energy. And let's see what we can make happen. I'm gonna start painting a little bit looser because for a variety of reasons. I'm mixing in more of the green up here to get more of like a bright green. I'm just gonna kind of like kick it in down here. It's gonna be a little ambiguous, like is it a hill, is it a leaf, what is it? Same deal over here. Actually, I kind of like how this is turning out now. Almost like it'll be like behind the leaves, like we'll just kind of get a little bit of a leaf situation going in. I'll probably paint in a vine. I've been using vine a little bit more. Vine also fits into this kind of like symbolic framework we're using right now. Let's just go for it. Let's just get it coming in over the black, just like this. Yeah, it looks really good. Maybe we'll get a little bit more green going on. Forgot the bat needs ears. Yeah, I'll throw in ears on the bat. Boom. Cool. And I think it's interesting also painting, trying to hit like a night vibe, because that's also something that happens in music. There's nocturnes, right? In case you're not familiar, in music, there's different like types of songs you can write, like preludes, nocturnes, etudes. Etudes like a study, preludes like an intro. It's kind of like a simplification of it, but we'll see what happens if I drop this olive green into the green that I have going on right here. It's kind of like, it's almost like it's like an olive color. And let's see, I'm going to see if I can just mix this all together and get a little bit more of like an earthy energy. It might ruin the like cool summer night vibe, but I don't think it will. I think it'll just kind of like enhance it. And I'm going to see if I can just come in and, let's see, I'm going to move this a little bit. And just get it going over here. Boom. Boom. Let's see. That actually looks pretty dope. So I'm totally in on, I don't want to say like uncharted territory, but kind of have that feeling of like not knowing how it's going to turn out, but I actually kind of like when that happens. It's actually also when it starts getting dope. I've mentioned this before, but like if you're worried about how it's going to turn out, it always turns out whack, but if you start just like sailing off into like uncharted territory, that's like pretty much the only way it can get cool. So I'm going to start trying to dig in and make sure this ends up looking sick since we've all come so far. Boom. Just going to get in the green. And I have this like very stark contrast between like the face and the upper realm, and I'm going to start trying to mix that a little bit and make it like less of like a stark contrast. So I'm probably going to paint in, I'm probably going to get a way bigger brush and just like blur out some of the bottom parts of the face, decide what I want to do there. I might even put like a sunset in the bottom. In fact, now that I said that, I'm definitely going to do that. I'm going to use this kind of like dark green color that I have going on over here. Well, let's see. I pushed the olive green really hard up top, and I don't want to push my luck too hard. So I'm actually just going to grab the Viridian. This is like a cool deep dark green. So I'm going to get this going down over here. And I'm going to lighten up. So once again, the Viridian is not opaque enough. That means it's too see-through. So I'm going to mix these two together, and what I'm going to do is at the bottom, I'm going to throw down a horizon line. Yeah, that's exactly what I want. This color is exactly what I want. I'm going to throw down kind of like a horizon line, throw in a sun, and get kind of like sunset energy going up from the top. From the bottom. And then we'll see how it goes. Let's see how this one goes. Boom, just like that. Perfect. Come down. Come across. Get that kind of like nice green like field energy going on. There we go. Boom. Cool. And I'm going to throw down, what color sun do I want to use? I could use the cadmium yellow for the sun, then it's kind of like bright lights. Let's do that. I would throw down a red sun, but I don't want to like confuse the color scheme too much. Cool. Someone said, so all your painting is off the cuff? It depends. The thing is, what I really want to do, the reason why I wanted to do this show and the way I've been doing it is I like talking about the creative process and like how, you know, you have ideas and how like symbols and images come together. So yeah, for the show, I've been doing it all off the cuff. Obviously, if I'm making like an image in real life, like off camera, like sometimes I plan it out, sometimes it comes together more organically, but I don't know. There's something about, I felt like there would be something about doing it live and like not having a plan that I kind of just really wanted to shoot for. Maybe eventually I'll start having a plan, but I don't know. I have this like vision in my mind of just like doing it totally unscripted and live that I think it's pretty dope. I mean, I don't know. There's something about that. Okay, this is already looking pretty dope right now. There we go. Get the glare away. Perfect. Alex, this is pretty cool, actually. It's also kind of like, then my reaction is like genuine, because right now I'm like, wow, this is actually looking pretty cool. Like, all right. I'm like, I'm not faking it. Like, it actually is how I feel. Whereas if I planned it out before, then it's like, oh, cool. Like, it's going all according to plan, which I feel like is not as cool. Got to decide how I want to hit the sunset thing, because if, I don't know, I could just have it try and fade up into the white of her face, but I don't know. Am I really confident enough for that? Yeah, I guess I am. Let's do it. Let's do that. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to throw, here's how I'm going to do this. I'm going to throw down the pink on the bottom. I'm going to bleed it up. I'm going to quickly grab, what do I want it to fade into? Maybe the Prussian blue. This is like Atypical Colors Day. I'm going to have it fade up into the Prussian blue, and then I'm going to try and have that fade up to her face. I actually don't really know how this is going to look, but let's see how it goes. So I got the Prussian blue down. I got this magenta down over here. I call these magentas like the sour magentas. Yeah, honestly, if you're talking about the Bill O'Reilly clip, like, fuck it, we'll do it live. Like, that's actually the exact energy that I'm going for all the time. Okay, so I'm getting all the darkness off this brush. You know, honestly, I feel like I should use the really big brush. I feel like I should hit it with this. So let's see. That's fine. Okay, let's see how this goes. I'm actually going to wet the paper first. So I'm going to wet this down here. You probably can't really see it, but I'm going to lay down some water. The sun might like totally bleed out. If it does, it's not really a big deal. We can just kind of roll with it. And I'm doing this so that the paper's wet, so the fibers will take the paint a little bit differently. It'll kind of just like be prepped to like not look so sharp. I don't want it to look like super sharp. And let's just see. I'm going to come down with this kind of like electric magenta down at the bottom. Could have switched to a smaller brush, but I didn't. And I'm just going to see if I can kind of like just get the full color. Yeah, there we go. Just want it full coming down. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch brushes. I'm going to grab, you know, I feel like I just need more than that though. I need more. Okay, I got a little bit of the blue in. And I'm going to have to like marry these together. Perfect. I don't want, let's come up a little bit like this. And I really need to mix the two together, but I can't get too little of it. Yeah, pretty good. Let's see. I'll probably come back. I don't want to worry about the sun, so I'll probably come back and just... Now I have to decide right now if I'm going to blot up some of it with a paper towel to give it some of that lighter look, and I actually am going to do it because I don't want it to look like too heavy, and I think that's what is going to give me the exact look that I want. So I'm just going to do this right here. Almost. Yeah, perfect. That is perfect. But now it's too dark up here. I guess I really have to commit and go full fade. Looks pretty tight. I don't know, not totally. I didn't get totally the result I wanted from that. So let's see if I just get one more run down here at the bottom, if it'll bleed up. Okay, and now I'm gonna hit that, same deal. Kind of like hitting, I'm going back and forth between like too dark and too light, so I'm actually just gonna do one more pass. I feel like I'm almost there. I feel like I almost got it how I want it. I need the pink. I'm actually gonna just use a brighter pink right now. Okay, cool. Okay, I think this is gonna be it. Let's see, I'm just gonna come down. Boom. I'm gonna come across. I'm gonna come with the purple. Boom. Nice, and then I'm gonna come with the blue. And I think we got it. I think we got it right there. Yeah, but I need more blue than that. Yeah, perfect. We got dark. Yeah. Wow, nice. Okay, that actually came together. But I don't want that line to be like so obvious, so what I'm going to do is just keep dragging it out further and further over the face. And actually, that looks pretty fucking dope. Damn, that was awesome. That was really interesting, actually. And I'm going to come back in, and actually, I am going to make the sun red. I said I didn't want to do that in the beginning, because I thought it would be like too much, but actually, I'm going to throw in the red sun. I think that's what's going to push it over the edge. Because now the yellow doesn't read like the sun. Because if you were looking at it and the sun was yellow like that, it wouldn't be that color sunset. It would be a different color. Okay, I'm grabbing a new brush. I'm going to throw this down. Perfect. Let's see. I'm just going to go for it. Yeah. Nice. Damn, that was real live shit. I did not know how it was going to go, but it looks pretty hot, actually. Yeah! Nice! Wow, that was high octane. My blood is pumping right now. I actually could feel the adrenaline. I was actually sweating a little bit, to be completely honest with you. Damn. All right, nice. That's sick. I really like how this looks now, because now we got this, like, night, sunset energy going on. Damn, that was awesome, actually. See that energy? That energy that we just had right there, where it was like, oh, we're on the edge. Like, is this going to look good? Is it not going to look good? Like, oh, it looks sick, actually. That's, like, what I want the whole time. But I got to figure out how to, like, just deploy that on command. So that's what I'm going for. All right, I'm going to throw in some ears on this bat. Real quick. That was really intense. I'm glad we did that. Yeah, true. The super big brush is like carpet bombing. Yeah, someone said that. I'm going to go over this real quick. Man, that was sick. If I was really painting, like, if I was not painting on video, I would go get, like, water and shit right now to, like, chill out from that. I really, like, got my adrenaline pumping, actually, but we're just going to keep it going. All right, I'm going to try and get that kind of, like, firefly color situation. I feel like maybe I just need, like, one or two more things. We're at 1:45, so if you watched the show before, you know at a certain point I say that we're not landing the plane right now, but we're, like, heading into the landing situation. So if you want to ask me anything else, ask me, and I will answer it, and we'll start honing in and seeing how I want to, like, land this plane situation right now. Okay, so I'm mixing in a little white. We'll get the kind of get the firefly energy going on. The firefly light color is like highlighter color. I mean, I'm sure you've seen a firefly. It's kind of hard to mix in paint, though, without using some, like, fluorescent paint. You can use fluorescent paint, but the thing is that then eventually it fades, and it just feels like kind of like cheating. Like, if you use the highlighter on a painting, eventually after like many, many, many years, it would just fade and it wouldn't be there anymore. So I only use what's called light, fast pigments, which means they last for a while. What's my favorite form of travel? Nice random question. Well, I hate flying, so not that. If I could never fly for the rest of my life, I definitely would eagerly take that deal. So I'm gonna throw in these kind of like firefly lights going on. Ideally, I could kind of like blur them a little bit, but since I can't blur them, I'm gonna put these like little like rings of light around them. So yeah, I hate flying, so not that. Honestly, probably train. If I could go everywhere by train, I definitely would. Whenever I have to go somewhere far away, like if I have to go to like Mississippi or Florida or something, I'm always like, yo, can we just take a train? People are like, oh, that would take like 15 hours. And I'm like, yeah, what's the problem though? So probably train. Fireflies are a really cool symbol for me because they're an animal that makes light. I feel like any animal that makes light has this kind of like cool... I mean, obviously light is like the ultimate symbol of like goodness. In a book on Buddhist symbolism I used to have, it said that they represented like the light of false wisdom that can't actually illuminate anything even though it tries to. Kind of said fuck that. I like fireflies a lot. That looks dope. Okay, we got something going on here, finally. Okay, I'm going to put in some dots, like some little ones in the background. I got one or two down here. Okay, I like how this is coming along. I'm going to get the firefly light color. I want it to be married to the rest of the composition, so I'm going to throw in it in the bottom here. It's a little too similar to the yellow on the halo, but it's fine. It's fine for right now. See if I can mix in some of the green, get a little bit of a gradient going on. Have ever read about near-death experiences? Yes, extensively. It's pretty interesting. I really totally reject the... this is something else I don't really talk about on Twitter, but I actually reject the thesis that DMT getting released when you die is what causes near-death experiences. Most people that look into near-death experiences eventually kind of get sucked into that thesis, but I actually don't think it's really like grounded in any way. I don't think the pineal gland can make that much DMT to give you that kind of experience. So I explain them via like purely like mystical and theological methods, obviously. So just throwing that out there. But yeah, they're pretty weird, man. I totally believe that stuff is real. I mean, that should be obvious to everyone. There we go. It's got a little fade going on over there. Okay. So this is actually looking really sick. It's looking really good, man. I got to figure out... By the way, by looking really good, like in case it's your first time watching this, I'm usually going for like a painting, sketching kind of feel where like I don't expect it to look like perfect, but just the idea should be cool. I kind of feel like I just need one more thing to really get it going. I feel like this area here is like where I want to drop something. Something probably, my intuition is something long and going across this way. I just don't know what, honestly. I could do, like, you know, whenever I'm thinking of something long, I think like spear, sword, and things like that, but we have such a nice, like, aesthetic going on right now. I don't really want to push it too hard into, like, the classical, medieval, like, theological thing. One thing I'm thinking is it would be kind of dope if I just put a line this way and painted in, like, a little car, and you could see its headlights in the distance. That's very, like, summer night kind of feeling, like driving along the highway. Once I think of something else, I'm probably going to do that. Not that it's like a consolation prize, but I think that would be really sick. Yeah, Chop Snake. Chop Snake actually would be really hot, but the thing is, I've been using that too much recently, and especially... Oh! I just got the idea. I know what we should do. I'm going to put in maybe like a bird's feather, like a black feather or something in there, and then the black will like tie it all together. It's going to be dope, actually. So I'm going to grab the black. I'm going to turn the color board one last time. I'm going to put in this black feather and see if that gets us going. And then I could also put in a different feather on the bottom if I was really wanting to push the feather thing, but let's see. Cool. I'm going to grab this right over here. A feather is cool because, obviously I've thought about all the symbols I use a lot. A feather is basically like an encapsulation of all the symbolism that we associate with the bird. The feather's like the shorthand, like for the bird. Okay, so I'm going to throw this. Do I want it to be in front of or behind the bat? If it's in front of the bat, it can obscure these kind of like weird legs I painted in. So we're going to do that. I'm just going to drop the center line of the feather over like that. I got some black paint on me. It's not a big deal. Cool. Okay. Boom. Cool. And here I have like two options. Do I want to paint it in like hardcore with the strokes, or do I want it to be like a graphic feather? But I kind of want to bust out of what I normally do and paint it in with the strokes. So let's see how that goes. Is this stuff dry? It's not totally dry yet. So I also have to not touch the page, but I think it's cool. I think I can do it. Let's see, I just want to kind of get... When you paint in a feather like this, you just got to get enough of the strokes coming out of the side so that it looks like a feather. And if it doesn't look like a feather, you're kind of fucked. But I think we'll be good. Yeah, perfect. We're good. And I'm also going to put a white line down the middle to give it kind of like a highlight on that like reed part of the feather. But yeah, that looks dope. And I'm going to flatten out this so it reads more like a feather. There we go. That's perfect. And on this side on the bottom, I'm going to put more of these like cuts in. The cuts are actually what really makes it read like a feather to someone when they see it. So like little cuts like that where the feather lines don't come fully out. It's actually what makes it read like a feather. And when I put the white line down the middle, I think it'll also read more like a feather. So I'm even coming... Boom, perfect. But you don't want to have too many. Yeah, it's kind of dope. I like how that looks a lot, actually. And I'm going to also straighten out the tip over here. I think that's part of what'll make it look like a feather. There we go. That's kind of cool, but I feel like I need to balance it out. Something else. I want to balance it out with something else. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the outline of a red feather and a blue feather up on the left and right of the bat. How did I find Painted Worlds? I don't know if I can say. He's just a guy that I know online. Sounds actually really sneaky, but that's actually really the extent of it. I just saw him posting on Twitter. I think I was searching for like math rock or something like that, or maybe I mentioned like Captain Jazz, which is one of my favorite bands, and someone told me to check it out. Something like that. Something like that. Okay, so what I'm going to do right now... I like how that came out, but I feel like we're right on the edge of wrapping this up. We're at 1:53, so I want to wrap this up soon. So I'm actually just gonna see if I can put like a line in the middle down here. Don't fuck it up. Yeah. Cool. Looks a little bit more like a feather. I'm gonna come back in with the black a little bit. A little bit of gray, just a few gray lines. Yeah, it's like a little bit of that night energy coming through. Cool, I feel really good about that. And let's see, I mean, how do I want to wrap this up right now? How do I want to wrap this? Yeah, Captain Jazz is one of my favorite bands. I saw them when they played like their last like reunion concerts and stuff. It was really cool. Okay, let's focus on wrapping this up. So I got like the summer night energy going on here. I really like the vibe, but I feel like I just need something to like close it out. I don't really know what though, to be totally honest with you. I kind of just want to get, I don't know, maybe I'm like done with it right now. I just feel like there's something that I am not having wrap it up fully. So I think what I'm going to do is, I mean, my intuition is telling me to put like the outline of like a red feather and a blue feather up here. I'm just going to do it, and then we'll wrap it up, and that'll be the picture. So let's see. I'm gonna make these. So here's the thing. Like, obviously, I have some level of self-awareness. The feather, it's good for like a painting sketch. It doesn't necessarily look as much like a feather as I want it to, but it's good enough for right now. But I'm gonna paint these in as kind of like graphic style, so there's no possible confusion. And then also, I think it'll help the black feather look a little bit more like a feather. And then we also have something that I really like doing where like a symbol is represented in different ways within one painting. So here we have it like drawn. Perfect. Here we have it like drawn on. And then I'm going to do a blue feather on the other side. I'm going to grab this Prussian blue and just paint it on. I'll kind of just paint over that with like a light blue before we wrap it up. But we're starting to wrap it up right now. This is a very chaotic one, but it's actually kind of cool. Turned out very well. We got this blue feather on the other side. Boom. Nice. Yeah, I actually like how that looks a lot. Cool. And then I know what the last thing I'm gonna do is. I'm gonna paint a green feather underneath here, and then we're gonna call it after that. I think that's like the last thing I'm gonna do right now. Yeah, flock of something in the distance. It's funny you said that, because I was thinking about putting like a plane or like just something like way in the back over here, but I don't know. I feel like it's kind of wrapping itself up right now. This is one of those ones where, who was it? I think it was de Kooning. There's an abstract painter who said paintings aren't finished, they're just abandoned. It's really funny. And I feel like that's kind of what this one's going to be like. I don't think there's going to be a moment where it's like, oh, boom, it's done. It'll kind of just wrap itself up. Yeah, green feather's tight. I've actually never really used that. And this one, since it's on the white, I'm going to throw down the... It's almost like they're like video game items, these like feathers floating around. Yeah, I really like the vibe of this one. I don't know if the execution was so perfect, but I like the vibe a lot, actually. Alright, I'm going to come back and paint the... Should I paint the stripes in the upper feathers? No, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to paint over this, and then we'll wrap it up. So if anyone wants to ask me anything else, do it. Otherwise, we're approaching the wrap up. I'm trying to cap these at 2 hours. Honestly, you've probably heard this before, but back in the day, I thought it would only be like 1 hour, so it's already way too long. But it's okay. Everyone says 2 hours is a good length. I actually kind of agree. Nice. This is an interesting one. Cool. I'm actually feeling this one a lot, honestly. I'm feeling it a lot. It's pretty tight. Trying to think if I want to like keep pushing it, but actually I really don't want to keep pushing it because I feel like the vibe has just kind of like coalesced in this interesting way, and I actually really like it. It's kind of like unexpected. This is my first like foray into like summer energy so far. The seasons are all like very different to me in terms of the art that I'm making during them and the vibe of them. Like during winter and especially fall, I was making it all like dark and like death based imagery and things like that. Spring, it's all about like new life. Summer has a very different energy. So this is really my first like foray into like the summer energy, and I'm actually really feeling how it came out. This is also part of why. So I'm just kind of gonna wrap it up right now. I'll see if I should take any questions, and then we'll wrap it up. Retrospect, looking at this. Yeah, so like I was saying, first foray into like summer energy. I also like how the kind of nocturnal stuff came through. It was a really big like dice roll for me, honestly. Like maybe it seems like dumb that this would be like such a big variable for me, but like using this color, this light purple, and also the green and the green and the leaves was like a really big dice roll for me. I guess I'm really used to using just the classical pigments, and when I do that, I'm very confident that's all going to come together well at the end. I guess it's kind of like if you're making music, there's certain instruments you can combine where you're like, piano, upright bass, saxophone. Like, how it's going to sound. It's going to sound dope no matter what. It's going to be cool. But then there's probably other instruments where it's like if you get them in the mix, you don't exactly know how it's going to like play out, like maybe like an oboe or something. That's kind of how I feel about these more like chemically pigments, these like non-classical colors, I guess you could say. So I'm really happy with how it came out. There's something like dank and kind of like fat and dank and cool. Cool as in like not warm, about like summer night energy, and I think I kind of got that going a little bit here. So yeah, really like how this came out. Has the weirdly, oddly, like kind of like slightly like mystical Christian aesthetic, like with the rose eyes, but not explicitly like those crosses everywhere. So yeah, this was a cool one. If you watch the whole thing, I guess I already apologized for this, but sorry I was messing with the text so much. I'll figure that out next time. I'm getting a new lamp and stuff, but normally it's not like that, but try and be like at least slightly professional. So yeah, that's basically it. Has a really good spring into summer night vibe. Yeah, also sometimes maybe what I'm thinking is, so I'm also thinking about how I want to develop the show and stuff. Maybe I'll do one where it's like straight drawing next time or something. I feel like I kind of have to keep pushing forward, so I'll think of something else that we'll do next time, and we'll kind of like change it up a little bit. Sometimes when I'm doing symbolic explorations of a theme like summer night and things like that, it's a lot easier when I'm just drawing and I can just use the symbols, like then I can just build on top of them. But when you're painting, like the color and the drawing and the image and how it's painted all kind of stacks up and makes it like a lot to think about, which is cool, but whatever. So yeah, if you watch this one, thanks for checking it out. I really like doing this with you guys. I like learning how to do this with you guys. Eventually, like I said, you'll have like slick intro with like 3D animated letters, and you'll be like, oh my god, I remember watching it back in the day when like, yeah. So that's basically it, guys. Thanks for checking this out. If a question comes up in the next 30 seconds, I'll answer it. But otherwise, yeah, that's basically it. I hope that was cool for you guys. If you ever want to like let me know what you think, hit me up. I always say this at the end, but like I'm the one doing it, so I don't know how it seems to be watching it. I only know how it is doing it. So let me know. Otherwise, yeah, I mean, honestly, I say this every time too. Maybe I'm going to jinx it, but each one is better than the last. So I feel like as long as that trajectory keeps going, I'm good. Eventually, if I crash and burn on stream, we'll kind of figure it out from there. But otherwise, thanks for being part of the unfolding narrative of the OPHANIM painting show. Plugs at the end. Painted Worlds. Bam. Check it out. Art. Do it. Drawing. Painting. You're stuck inside. Hit me up about what stuff you should get to be doing art inside. Symbolic exploration of boomer grilling energy. That's funny. Yeah, if you've been watching all of them, next time I'm going to try and have an idea or something going in and not just wing it live, and we'll see how that goes. I don't know if it'll be cooler or more stale. I can't really tell. There's a balance of like not being stale versus knowing what's going on. So we'll see next time. I'll have a plan and we'll see how it goes. Last question. Will there be another Saturday stream? Did that once. Actually, I did it twice, yeah. Yeah, probably eventually. The thing is, I mentioned this last time, but if I'm doing something on video, I kind of want it to be like 100% there, like super dope. And after doing 2 of the Saturday streams, I was like, I could do another one where I'm kind of just like stumbling through, looking at art or something, but I don't know. I feel like a lot of I'm not talking shit about anyone in particular. I'm truly not thinking of anyone in particular. But I feel like a lot of people when they start streaming, you can kind of just coast into this energy of like, yeah, it's just me like on camera, like I don't know, I'm just kind of like hanging out. And for me personally, that's just not my vibe. I know some people rock it like really well, and that's really cool. But for me, if I'm doing something, I want it to be like on point, like this is legit, like I'm down to like have you sit and watch it. So that's why I stopped doing them. I thought I was kind of coasting into like just hanging out energy, but maybe I'll do it again. A bunch of people hit me up and liked it. They're still linked on my Twitter, but the videos are unlisted. So if you want to see them, check it out. It's like me looking at like esoteric Tibetan art for like 3 hours with people in the chat. It was really fun. But yeah, if you hit me up, I'll send you the link to the second one. It's unlisted, so you can't find it by searching on YouTube, but it is still there. So if you hit me up, I'll send it to you. Otherwise, guys, yeah, man, that's basically it. I love doing this. I love that people are into it. I hope you get something out of it. And yeah, man, thanks for checking it out. And I will catch you guys on the internet where we all hang out together. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys later.